welcome to welcome back to my channel. We are back yet again another week for another review, and this week we're going to be doing episode 4 of Put a Ring on It. So let's get straight into the episode. So the episode actually picks up from last week when Dr. Nicole asked Laronda if she wants to go on another date with Sir James. So to our surprise, Laronda actually agreed to go on a second date. Her reason for that is she wants another opportunity to get to know him without the tension of, your partner in the room. That way they can really get to know each other's personalities. So Dr. Nicole then asked Sean, well, how do you feel about that? Sean tells us verbally that he's okay with it because he wants her to get all the candy. That way he can know if she really loves him. But body language doesn't lie. He was very upset about it, or bothered to say the least. Afterwards, Dr. Nicole asked Sean, would you like to go on a second date with Brittany? Because if we remember, Brittany was his date last week. Sean says yes with a capital Y, and he's just being petty. But according to him, the main reason for that was he was so focused on Laronda's safety that he didn't give Brittany a fair chance. So he wants to get to know her some more. And I'm telling you, I think he only said yes because Laronda said yes. And of course, Dr. Nicole noticed the jealousy in their body language and the rolling of the eyes and so on. So she called them both out and set them straight. Since Eric and Alexia are the only two people who decided not to go on a repeat date, Dr. Nicole tells them that they will be using this week to focus on their existing relationship and the communication styles that they have within their existing relationships. Meanwhile, everybody else will be going out on their second date, with the exception of Darian, who is actually going on his third date with Kai. So Dr. Nicole asks Darian and Alexia, well, how do you both feel about this? Alexia says, well, she's not really bothered about it. Like, she says she wants him to go on the date, which I don't necessarily think is true, but that's what she says. And we already know Darian is very excited, and he would always say something like, oh, he's just living through the process. He wants to do the process properly. I think he's just happy that he's finally able to date outside without it being considered cheating. Cut to Eric and Jessica, who are driving home from their session, and Jessica actually starts up a conversation in the car with Eric, asking him what did he feel about the session. And during this conversation, she actually revealed that she's having a harder time with the process than she thought she would be, because it's not as easy as she initially thought, watching her partner go out with another woman that he has some sort of attraction to. And she actually was open and honest and said that it's actually starting to get to her. So Eric, in his confessional, tells the audience that, of course, he's more jealous than nervous about Jessica going on a second date with Clarence, because he feels like a second date means that obviously there was something there that she liked, especially since he decided not to go on a second date with Tynesha. And he also said he felt like she was rubbing it in. And so obviously he's pressed. He's very pressed, because even as the conversation continued, she eventually ended up saying something like, oh, I'm hungry, you should feed me. And he was like, tell Clarence to feed you. So, I mean, he's playing it off as jokes, but he's definitely pressed by the fact that she's going out on a second date this week. The next couple we see are Alexia and Darian, and they're in their home. And so Alexia actually asks Darian, what did you think about the session today? As well as, what do you think are some of the issues, or what are some of your issues between us? And Darian just says out straight, well, I think I deserve a way better sex life. And we just aren't as intimate anymore. And it's been 14 years and the spark has died way down. Like, he was being so expressive, like, from 100 to 0. That's the way he made it sound. And additionally, he revealed that he feels more at peace in apparently a condo that's meant to be the space where he goes when things are not going so right between them, or where she would send him when she feels like she's too upset. And he actually said, like, that's more his space of peace rather than at home. And so she says that that's part of the reason why she isn't intimate with him, because she feels like when he goes to the condo, something is happening there that he's not telling her. And then she relayed some examples in the past of what would have made her feel that way. And that just led to a huge blown up argument. And he really did a low blow, because he brought up Kai and said something about that's why he's more comfortable with Kai. And she's willing to post him, something along those lines, which was just a complete low blow rather than listening to her and kind of allowing her to express her feelings. And I don't like how he's constantly using Kai as a weapon against her in terms of to make her feel like she's less than. There's no need to compare her with Kai. That's not a part of the process. And at this point, I think she needs to take the hint. If he's willing to throw away everything you've had for 14 years for somebody that he's been on a couple dates with, then maybe she should reevaluate the relationship. So since we mentioned Kai and Darian are actually the next date that we're seeing. So we're seeing them going out on their third date. And immediately in her confessional, she's telling the audience that she feels good when she's with Darian, and she is, cognizant of the fact that he's in a relationship with Alexia, but on the other hand, she definitely feels like she could have him if she wants to. This girl is definitely having a power trip. She enjoys knowing that she has power in the situation, and unfortunately she does, because Darian has made it this way, where she definitely feels like she has a fair chance, and so do I as a viewer, of taking him away from Alexia, or him leaving Alexia to be with her, because that's the way he's making it seem thus far. So after their go-kart date situation, they sit down and they actually get to talking like a bit more seriously. And the first thing she says is, well, I'm dying to know, like, what was, Alexia's reaction of the last date. And again, he's divulging so much information. I don't think he needs to go into detail about how Alexia felt about their date. All he needs to say was like, there were some issues and we talked about it. He keeps giving her all these details and saying, oh, you make her insecure and stuff, which of course she's feeding off of it. And I'm not sure if he's doing that on purpose or if he genuinely doesn't realize how that would make Alexia feel and look. Like, she would look a bit, she come across like you're threatened by the other woman. So then she actually asked, well, if she asked you to stop seeing me, stop going out on dates with me, would you stop? And he said no, because, that wouldn't be fair to the process. Anyway, after that, they went on with their date. They went on into more conversation about Kai and her family and her upbringing and what led her to where she is today. She revealed that she has 2 children and so on and so forth. And then we move on from their date. The next date was actually Brittany, who was in a recording studio, making a song, because she was singing, and there Sean came to meet her for their date. When he came in, he was very happy. Like, you could tell that he liked the dynamic of what was happening there. He was smiling from ear to ear. And then once she finished recording, they sat down and started talking to one another. And then we begin to see that these two, they're actually quite compatible. Like, they have a love for entertainment. He also asked her, like, what's the reason why she's like single at this point, and she explained that a lot of the times in her dating, she finds that a lot of her partners did not understand her lifestyle and entertainment, in terms of they saw her singing more as a hobby rather than a career, and it's something serious to her. So of course he was definitely able to relate to that, and they had a great conversation about that. And then it got a bit more lighthearted, and he started to mention that he was a crier, he's a sensitive dude. And she actually said that she's actually a crier, so they have that in common. And then suddenly Sean kind of switched, and in his confessional, he says to the audience that he already knows where this can go, because he sees that they're super compatible. Not just compatible, but super compatible. And so because of that, he wraps up the date and leaves, because he is afraid to, I guess, overstep. So what I got from that was Sean really likes Brittany, but he's almost afraid to explore, to see if maybe there's a possibility that he would end up liking her more than Laronda, because they definitely seem to have a bit more in common. Jessica and Clarence date is next, and it's actually at a gym, which I think both of them actually have an interest in, so that was good. The vibes initially were great, and Jessica revealed that what she likes about Clarence is the fact that he's attracted to her, but he says it to her in a more respectful way than she's used to. And so she likes the attention and all of that stuff that he gives to her. So I think she just generally likes to be validated. And all in all, she was saying that's something she likes and gets from Clarence. So they got a bit playful, and she asked him to remove his shirt so she could see what he was working with. And eventually she saw a tattoo of a name, Dana. So she asked, who is Dana? Which led to a more serious conversation when he said, well, that's my ex-wife. So she asked, why did you all get divorced? And he explained that they got married when they were young. He was 23, and he said as they grew older, they were no longer compatible, as well as there was infidelity on his part because I think he said he's a body lifter or bodybuilder, something to that effect. And I guess he had to be traveling around back in the day when, you know, he was in his prime. And so he was out here in these streets. That's really what it came down to. And after that conversation, he actually asked Jessica, well, what's going on? Like he flipped the conversation and asked her, like, what's going on regarding, you know, you and Eric and marriage? Like, has it never been brought up? Why is it that you guys aren't married? And to sum it up nicely, she just said, like, we aren't there yet. And after that, she did say in her confessional, like, she didn't like that because she felt like he needed to worry about what was happening between them right now and worry about himself rather than being worried about her and Eric. And I think you're insecure because the stone hit after he threw it. Because obviously, if you're asking questions about somebody's past and they're trying to get to know you, it's only fair that they're going to ask you about your situation. So, yeah, hit dog hollers, and you were butthurt because that's a valid question to ask and you did not have a sensible response. Per usual, Dr. Nicole is available for house calls. So this week, Alexia and Darian actually called her to come to their home to help them sort through some issues. Immediately she comes, Darian says one of the major problems that it's good that she's there, first of all, because they've been fussing. So I guess he's trying to say that they've been fighting all week. So initially he says one of the major issues is he doesn't like that Alexia is constantly accusing him of infidelity, to wrap it up nicely. And Alexia was able to then say, well, this is the reason why, or this is where the assumption is coming from. And she relayed some examples to Dr. Nicole. In the middle of her expressing her feelings, he's literally laughing. So Dr. Nicole basically told him, like, it's important to listen. It's important that she gets the opportunity to say how she feels, you know? Dude blows up in the middle of her explaining what's happening because she brought up some situation between the two of them in the past. And he was just like, liar, liar, and the process is not going to work because you're a liar. Like, he went, I wouldn't even say 100, I would say 1,000. So I was really just wondering, like, what is this energy? Like, he was being so defensive, and that makes me think that she is telling the truth because for me, the response was very dramatic. Like, what was that? So naturally, because of the blow up, Dr. Nicole had to reel things back in and say, look, we need to focus on the real issues instead of kind of blowing up about the smaller things. So for Darian, he says one of the major issues is that she wants to get married and he doesn't want to get married when she says to get married. He wants to do it in his own time. So Alexia was being very honest and she says, well, you know, I'm 34, I don't have any kids. He already has 3 kids by 2 babies' moms. And this was during the 14 years on and off situation. And she's now at the age where all of her friends are getting married. She wants to have kids, yada, yada, yada. And I was just like, skirt. 3 kids, 2 babies' mamas. And this is during the time that y'all were together, like in the 14-year frame. I'm just thinking, why are we still in this relationship? And if that wasn't enough, his response to that was, yeah, I'm all here for the kids. We can have the kids because he definitely wants more kids and he wants to have kids with her. But, you know, with the marriage thing, it's like they have too many issues and so he doesn't think they're ready to move to marriage. So children who need both parents to have their shit sorted out, that's fine. We can bring them into the shitstorm. But the marriage is the issue because as far as he tells it, he has seen marriage ruin lots of relationship. Like the title that comes with marriage ruins lots of relationship. Honestly, I think this is just a straightforward situation. He's being very honest about how he feels, but it's as though Alexia she's not responding to what he's saying because that's not what she wants to hear. I don't even understand why you two are in this process. Like, he has clearly said he doesn't want to be married over and over. He says maybe like further down, like she's 34. If she's going to wait around for him, she's going to look up and be 40, 45. And then you're going to find that you relinquished your rights to have kids because it seems like she doesn't want to have kids without the marriage because obviously he's ready and willing to have the children. So something is not right here because as far as I see, they don't want the same things. So I don't even know why they're in a relationship. Dr. Nicole advises them to improve on their communication and how they deal with each other. So hopefully they get it figured out. Laronda and Sir James' date is next, and I must say I smiled through this entire date. I really like these two together. Their vibe is great. They're both competitive. They both joke around, like they have the same type of sense of humor. And I thought things were going really great. And after they finished bowling, they sat down and spoke about, their history with their partners. So Sir James actually said his last relationship was about 4 years ago, and the reason why it ended was because of infidelity on his partner's part. Um, then Laronda, I think he asked Laronda like, what's the biggest issue in her relationship currently, and she said right now one of the hardest things with Sean is that he's insecure, and that can become a bit exhausting. So he actually asked her, well, do you think that's something that can be fixed, can be worked on? And she said yes, she thinks so. It's just that obviously it's draining and it's going to take some time to get to that point. So, all in all, they had a good chat. They had a good date, I think. And in the end, she said she had a great time. She found it to be really fun. And I hope these two go on another date. So, finally, it's the end of the week. And Dr. Nicole meets up with all the couples and she needs updates on what's going on with everyone. So remember, Eric and Alexia didn't go out on any dates. So really, she started out by asking Alexia and Darian, like, how did they progress together? And one thing they revealed was that after Dr. Nicole left the house, they were able to have somewhat of a heart to heart. Alexia said Darian was able to sit down and actually listen to her point of view, and he was able to clear up some of the discrepancies with whatever happened in the past that she felt like left it open for her to assume that there was cheating happening. I actually don't understand these two because I feel like the kids during the relationship is confirmation enough that he was cheating, but I don't know. They did say they were on and off, so maybe that happened during one of their off times, three different off times, because that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, as far as they can tell, they improved on their communication this week. Jessica and Eric were next, and Eric actually did most of the talking because he said he felt like they needed to work on their resolving conflict because he doesn't feel like they do a good job of that. Also, he doesn't feel like Jessica is interested in his problems. So then she said, no, she actually is interested, and a lot of times she listens and then she gives her feedback. But he said something kind of mean. He was just like, well, you don't say anything that I haven't thought of already. So it technically doesn't count. So she was very hurt by that. And Dr. Nicole kind of like, well, that she said, are you saying that what I'm saying is not relevant? And he was like, no, it's just that, your advice is kind of useless. So Dr. Nicole was like, that kind of is basically what you just said. So I don't know, these two have some talking to do because every week, as far as communication goes, they don't ever seem to be on the same page. And she always seems to think that they're communicating so much better than they are. It's fair to say that in terms of mental stimulation, Eric doesn't feel like Jessica is living up to that side, but he is willing to compromise on that because there's a certain aesthetic that she brings to the table. And so he just needs to take his losses. Like maybe you have 80%, but you're missing that 20%, which is a communication that he seems to crave so much and enjoyed so much on his date last week with Tynesha. But it is what it is. It's either you're going to tell Jessica how to communicate with you that way or move on. So then Dr. Nicole checked in with Laronda and asked her about Sir James and her date and if she wanted to go on another date with him. And to my surprise, she actually declined a third date because she said she felt like she was leading the conversation, and also she felt like the interest was not being, I guess, reciprocated. And I'm thinking, which date was she on? Because the date that I saw, they had a good rapport and it was very back and forth, but I don't know, maybe it was the editing. So she declined the date and immediately she said no, she doesn't want to go on another date. Sean's smile was just like ear to ear. He's very happy about it. And yeah, so I'm really surprised and a bit disappointed because I thought that her and Sir James actually would have made a good couple, and I thought their conversation was good, but I guess she knows the reason why. She did, however, say that she likes his confidence and she likes the fact that he's a very calm, relaxed guy, and she feels like that's something that she would like to see in Sean. After we checked in with Sean, who actually agreed to go on another date with Dr. Nicole after much convincing, because his whole thing is he likes her, but he's afraid to, I guess, step into the fire, as he says, or step out into the deep end. Like the fact that he knows he likes her but doesn't want to move forward. So Dr. Nicole basically said to him, like, this may be a bit of proof that you're not trusting yourself, will actually extend to you not trusting your partner. So the way to overcome that is to actually put yourself in the situation and, you know, see how you manage it. So eventually he was able to agree to go on another date. It seems Brittany also is very interested in going on another date with Sean. I don't know why, but these two seem to really like each other, so why not? Finally, we checked in with Jessica and if she wanted to go on another date with Clarence, and she declined because she said he's attractive and everything, but he doesn't excite her. Listen, the more Brittany talks, not Brittany, the more Jessica talks, the more she comes across as an airhead to me, because she's not looking for a stimulating conversation. And I mean, this guy had a really good conversation with her. They seem to have a lot going, but she's just concerned with how he looks and if he's exciting. It's not all fun and games in a relationship, Jessica, but yeah, she declined, which was her right. And that wrapped up the episode for this week. Leave your comments for me down below and let's discuss some of these couples. Tell me what you think about this Alexia Darian situation, the 3 kids during the 14-year time span. Kai thinking she is the catch and she has 2 kids at 32, which I noticed she didn't speak about their fathers, and talk about Jessica and her communication style as far as it relates to Eric. Just tell me everything. Tell me all your thoughts, Laronda and Sean and him being a big baby, everything in the comments. And until next week, guys, we'll discuss episode 5.